Ireland is reopening. Is now the time that you should start planning a trip? I'm sharing what you need to know before booking Ireland travel in 2021. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning into the Traveling in Ireland podcast. Today I am digging into the announcement that Ireland is going to reopen to international tourists on Monday, July 19th. Now, it had been announced a while back that Ireland was planning to reopen to international visitors on the 19th of July, but confirmation didn't come until late in the afternoon of July 16th. And on that day, I received an email from Tourism Ireland. Now, that's the organization responsible for promoting the island of Ireland as a tourism destination. And they sent an email that confirmed that Ireland would, in fact, be reopening to international tourists, and in particular, U.S. tourists. Because I am in the U.S., that is the email they sent me. And you can actually read the full press release if you go into the show notes and click through. But there is also a link on there for information specific to other countries. Now, the EU, Britain, and a few other countries, they're all going to fall under pretty much the same rules as are applying to the US right now. So you can get the gist of it, but the specific information is available in a link in the show notes. So do hop over to that for more information for other countries. What I'm going to do is actually just break down the email for you and give you my insight into it, as well as some research that I did into some of the additional information, just so you are really equipped with the right information to make the decision on whether or not planning a trip to Ireland is right for you in 2021. So, the rules for U.S. visitors to Ireland beginning on Monday the 19th of July are those who are fully vaccinated will have no travel-related testing or quarantine necessary to travel to Ireland. Now, this comes with a little asterisk at the end that I'm going to get to in just a couple of minutes. So just, straight off, fully vaccinated, do not have any travel testing or quarantine necessary. Now, for those who don't have valid proof of vaccination, you have to present the evidence of a negative RT-PCR test. So that's a rapid test that is taken within 72 hours prior of your arrival in Ireland, and it has to be negative. Upon arriving in Ireland, you will be required to self-quarantine. Now, they don't specify the number of days on this self-quarantine, although it currently seems to be 14 days, although I've read in other places it may be 10 or it could be as few as 5, but there just is not solid information on that, so I am going with 14 just because that is the most likely scenario on that. And then you will also have to undergo post-arrival testing for COVID, and that will be provided through the Health Service Executive in Ireland. Now, something to keep in mind is that Ireland will be applying an emergency brake mechanism coordinated at the EU level that will react swiftly to the emergence of a variant or a variant of interest. So if there is a rise in COVID cases, there may be an emergency brake applied. And if that is applied, that will stop that will put a wrench into your travel plans, unfortunately. And again, I'll be going into that in just a couple of minutes. Now, when you arrive into Ireland, so assuming that you have your negative test or your proof of vaccination, you will complete a passenger locator form. That form can be done online prior to arriving, and it will be checked prior to your departure to Ireland by the airline that you're flying with, and you may be asked at that time to provide your vaccination certificate to the airline. On arrival in Ireland, there will be spot checks carried out on proof of vaccination and negative testing. And with the addition of these into your arrival, it can cause disruption. You can expect to be waiting in the airport for longer than you would have if you were traveling back in 2019. And that wait could have been an hour and a half to 2 hours. So upon arrival at Dublin Airport, as Dublin is the only airport that you can arrive into right now from the US, unless you're flying private, you're going into Dublin Airport right now. So plan, I would say, a minimum of 3 hours on arrival at Dublin Airport and maybe even 4 just to be super, super safe. On July 19th, children between the ages of 12 and 17 must have a negative RT-PCR test to travel into Ireland, even if they are traveling with fully vaccinated or recovered adults. So all children between 12 and 17 must have a negative test. Children under 12 do not need to take an RT-PCR test prior to traveling into Ireland, and there could be changes coming to this, so you do need to keep an eye on the Irish government website to keep yourself notified and updated on any changes that may happen. It's also important to note that only those fully vaccinated or with proof of recovery from COVID-19 in the past 6 months will be able to dine indoors in Ireland, and that's anticipated that indoor dining will reopen on July 26. So indoor dining has not yet reopened. It is supposed to be reopening soon, still being discussed as to how that's going to happen. But if you have not been vaccinated or you do not have proof of recovery in the last 6 months, you will not be allowed to dine indoors. So that would mean no pubs, no restaurants. However, if you are staying in a hotel, you can take advantage of that indoor hospitality offered within the hotel. Now, at the very first, I said you have to have fully vaccinated to be allowed in Ireland without any testing or quarantine. The important thing to know about that, for the purposes of travel, you are considered vaccinated if you have been vaccinated with an EMA approved vaccine. So that's a European Union Medical Association approved vaccine, and you have followed the recommended number of days after your final dose. Now, there are only 4 EMA approved vaccines right now, and those are Comirnaty, I'm probably saying that wrong, the COVID-19 vaccine Janssen, Spikevax, which was previously the COVID-19 vaccine Moderna, and Vaxzevria, which was previously the COVID-19 vaccine AstraZeneca. So the important thing for Americans to note on that is that Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson are not currently on the EMA approved vaccine list. Whether or not that will cause you an issue going into Ireland, I can't say, but it's something you want to keep in mind and check out if you have received either of those vaccines. Moving on to the emergency brake. The emergency brake is what gives me a little bit of pause going forward. So the emergency brake is designed to protect the citizens of Ireland and the EU because it is done at an EU level. It's designed to protect against the importation of a variant of concern or a variant of interest in COVID, and it will be enacted swiftly, and it can change your travel plans overnight. So if you are traveling to Ireland and an emergency brake has been set against your country of origin or a country you are passing through, so if you fly through Britain and they've got an emergency brake against them, that will affect your travel plans as well. So if you have been vaccinated, if you have been vaccinated, you will have to present evidence of a negative test taken no more than 72 hours before arrival. You will have to undergo self-quarantine, and you will have to take another RT-PCR test 5 days after your arrival in Ireland before you're allowed to leave your quarantine. So if an emergency brake is set against your country of origin or the country you are traveling through, you'll have a 5-day quarantine no matter what, and that can pretty much take out a vacation. Um, if you have proof that you have recovered from COVID in the last 6 months, you will have the same requirements as if you have had the vaccination. And if you do not have valid proof of vaccination or recovery, you have to take the RT-PCR test, and then you have a mandatory 14-day hotel quarantine that you must do on arrival in Ireland. So it's 2 weeks in a hotel, no ifs, ands, or buts. So if an emergency brake is placed, that can very quickly ruin your travel plans. Now, if you plan to visit Northern Ireland after July 19th, there are different rules. Northern Ireland is, as you know, part of Great Britain, part of England, so they have a different system. They're operating on a system of red, green, and amber countries, and the measures in place depend on the countries the visitor is traveling from or passing through. US and Canada are both currently on the amber list, and that means that if you are going into Northern Ireland directly or via another country, including the Republic of Ireland, you must provide proof of a negative COVID test taken up to 3 days before departure. You must book post-arrival testing, complete a UK passenger locator form on arrival or in the 48 hours before arrival. Oh my goodness. And you have to self-isolate for 10 days. So if you're planning to visit the north, you need to give yourself time to self-isolate for 10 days. That means no touring. Really, you are in one place and you will be checked on. So that is what's up with the rules beginning on the 19th of July. One final note to bring up is that mask mandates are still in full effect across Ireland, even if you are vaccinated. So if you plan to travel to Ireland, don't forget to take your mask. It is required anywhere that you are around other people. So that was quite a lot of information, quite a lot to take in. There are links, as always, in the show notes. So if you need to review anything, everything that I shared is written out on my website as well as fully linked. So you can check those vaccines that I talked about. You can learn more about the emergency brake, more about the quarantines, and everything that I know up to this point. As always, I really appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me, Jody, Jody, at IrelandFamilyVacations.com. And until next time, Slán go fóill.